Welcome to this week's episode of the Thrill of Driving podcast. Now, before we get into it, I want to remind you that we have our podcast live also on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Anchor. Everywhere that you find a podcast, you can find the Thrill of Driving podcast. So go look for it there if you're like listening to it in your car while you're driving or something like that.
What is Stitcher?
Stitcher is a podcast app.
And Anchor?
Anchor is how we upload our podcasts.
Well, you learn something new every day, don't you?
Yeah. So, this is what I do with my podcast. I just get it on during the commute, listen to somebody talk the whole way through, and it's great.
Actually, last night while coming back in the cab, I was listening to the podcast. I listened to 2 podcasts.
Where were you coming back from?
So back from Frankfurt. I was at the Frankfurt Motor Show, the biggest motor show in the world in Germany. Geneva is more like a boutique motor show. Okay. I prefer Geneva because it's much smaller, so your feet don't get murdered. Kids now no more leather shoes at motor shows because your feet get murdered walking across the halls. Geneva is much smaller. All the manufacturers are present, but Switzerland, being a neutral country, it's not like the Germans are trying to overshadow the rest, or say in Japan where the Japanese obviously make more noise than the Europeans. In Frankfurt, it is the Germans who make a huge play of things. But the thing that I noticed this time, and I've been going to the Frankfurt Motor Show for maybe 10-15 years now. It's every alternate year. It alternates between Paris and Frankfurt, and it's much smaller.
Okay.
It is much smaller. So Mercedes-Benz usually has this Taj Mahal. Now they're in the same Taj Mahal, but half of it is just left as it is. It's, I think, a opera house or a music hall. So all the rafters, all the seats were all left there, and it was half the place. Audi earlier used to have, there was a central courtyard, and they would build their own stand. Like a Taj Mahal, they would build it just for the motor show. And now the entire Volkswagen Group were all together in Hall 3. BMW, Hall 11, they used to take the entire thing. So Rolls-Royce, BMW, Mini, the entire hall. It was so big that they actually used to have a track inside, and the cars used to be running inside the hall. So inside this motor show stand, cars used to be whirring around. Now in that same hall, there's BMW, there's Mini, there was a armored Volvo, there's Land Rover, Hyundai, Opel, all in that same hall. So BMW was cut down by maybe a quarter in size.
Okay, but let's talk about the interesting cars of the show. So Volkswagen Group, what did Volkswagen have? I think the big news was the ID3.
So before the show started, Volkswagen had their group night, and the main thing on the group night was the ID3, their full electric car. Now, it's been 4 years in the making, 4 years since they said that they're going to have this huge play on electrics, obviously because of Dieselgate. So to deflect some of that criticism that they were receiving. And in 4 years, now this is the production car. Why is it called the ID3? 3 stands for the third big car after the Beetle and the Golf.
That's what it meant. I didn't know.
Yeah, so that is the third big thing in the Volkswagen history, so to speak. So the huge volume players, Beetle, obviously, the Golf, and now this, they expect that entire range to get like completely electrified. Obviously not 100%, but the amount of effort, money, time, all going into electrification is immense.
And this is the first product on their new MEB platform, isn't it?
Yes. So this is their first all-electric car, like I said. It also previews...
Is it their first... What about the e-Golf? Wasn't that one?
Yeah. But those are all IC engine cars that have been electrified.
Right.
This is a pure play electric car. This is not going to also have a CNG version, also have a petrol version, also have a diesel. This is only electric. And to go with that, Volkswagen unveiled their new logo, their new identity. Now, you obviously have to look a little closer. It's become thinner. The 3D effect is gone. It is 2D. And I asked their head of design that why go to that? And he said that is to signify the more digital Volkswagen, because that logo works better on an Apple Watch, apparently. It works better in apps.
Right.
All of it. The 3D version looked a little too heavy,
clunky,
too cumbersome. So they've got a new logo. They
but do you like the logo? I like the logo.
I like the logo.
Yeah, I think it's neat.
Yeah, it moves back to the past, right? On the Beetle, it was like this, right? Before it became 3D-fied and all of that.
Yeah.
So it looks nice, clean, simple. On the ID3, it was all in white to contrast with the colors. It looks cool. The ID3 looks cool. So I asked asked the head of design that, no, why this smiley face and all that? And his exact words like, why do electric cars have to look like, ugh? No, they can be happy because electric cars don't have to be like these mad V8, V12 engine cars that need to frighten little children or like the SUVs. This is a happy car for a happy future. For a happy future. Yeah. So that was the big thing. The electric car from Volkswagen, prices start at under 30,000 euros.
What would that correspond to here?
30 lakhs approximately, including duties and all of that.
And they say it's a golf-sized car with space of a Passat.
It's actually very spacious inside. So I was sitting in the car and at the back, these Germans are huge, right? 6-footers are short over there. And there was enough space for them at the back with space to spare. So it was the space of a Passat, the outside dimensions of a Golf, a lot of cool infotainment and connectivity options. Obviously, it's been integrated with that whole charging network that they're developing out in Europe. Like I said, prices start at 30,000 euros. Deliveries start early next year. And I think it will do well.
And they've got 3 battery ranges. So if you want a higher battery spec, you have a lower battery spec.
So different range. The top end is at 550 kilometers. It starts at some 330 kilometers. Using the fast charging network, you can get 250 kilometers of range in 30 minutes. So it is there, right? Now, the only thing left is to get consumers to buy those cars. Because that is the big stumbling block. Do consumers really want electric cars? That is what has to be seen. Because it is not going to be as convenient as a petrol or a diesel car, for sure. Even though now you have the range with, say, the top-end version at 550 kilometers, you maybe have to charge it once or twice a week. But still, that charging is going to take time.
And it can't be your primary car because if you're doing a cross-country road trip, then you're going to be limited by that
Maybe in Europe, you could. Because Europe, they are putting out this charging infrastructure at a rapid pace. So in Europe, you might be able to get away with a car that can do everything, an electric car that can do everything. Obviously, time will tell. But with the kind of investment Europe's biggest car manufacturers putting into this, I don't think it won't happen. Otherwise, they're betting the farm on this. If it doesn't happen, it's going to be a problem. Because everyone, like you said, the entire motor show was all electric cars.
Let's talk about another one now. Another German, BMW.
I don't think over there, the talk isn't so much about electric or not.
It's about grills.
It's about the grill. Like Hormus, the editor of Autocar put it, from the thrill of driving, it's moving to the grill of driving. I thought that was really cool what he put out. And that grill, okay, let's put it this way. In profile, I think it looks super cool. It goes back to those old BMWs of the 70s. The Concept 4.
Concept 4,
it's got this forward slanting grill, which harks back to the 3.0 CS. Those old Batmobiles also had those forward slanting grills. So in profile, it looks cool.
Yeah, but then you look at that grill and I can't get Bugs Bunny's face out of my head.
It is too much, right? Dead on, that Concept 4 is, whoa, what is this? Right? It's going to take some getting used to, and this is going to happen. It's not like previewing something which might happen in 10 years, 20 years. Next year or latest year after next, the next 4 series is going to look like this.
I'm not sure what to feel about this because I really, really like BMWs, and their styling has always been subtle. It's not been garish.
No, see, Chris Bangle, when he did his designs, that was shit. What the hell is going on, right? His 7 series, his 5 series, they really divided the entire automotive media, customers, everything. Now, there were 2 complete ends. They either hated it or loved it. And I think very few really loved it. But it took BMW to the next level.
And that's happening again, I guess. I mean, very few people love this.
But it is moving, it is selling, customers seem to like it. I am quite okay with the X7 because the more I seen it, I spent 3-4 days driving it around in the States. It's okay. But then last week we had the 7 series with us and I couldn't get over that grill because those huge nostrils and the thin lamps.
And we actually put it up next to the old 7 series to see how they compare. And that grill just looks tiny in comparison.
True. So the Concept 4, it is happening. It will also preview the i4. So BMW were actually the first with this whole electric car game. Remember the i3, the i8, and then they sort of wandered off the plot, and everybody else is now making a big noise with electrics, whereas BMW, who were the originators, and plus that cool carbon construction, all those cool techniques, they are now not talking too much about electrics, but now they're back in the game. i4 is coming, so a sport coupe, a sport electric coupe, that is coming. As for the other BMWs, that iNext SUV, I could probably get used to the concept 4,
Yeah.
but those SUVs, oh mama, that's a bit much. And the thing is, from there, the next press conference was Hyundai.
Right.
And they showcased their electric concept, the 45,
Yeah.
which has got design cues from their old Pony concept car. Don't ask me what that Pony concept car is because I don't know much about Hyundai's history and it doesn't really go back all that much. So apparently they had a Pony concept car which was designed by some Italian firm. It has, once you put the two side by side in profile, it does have cues from there.
Yeah.
But the
It is
concept 45 looks so nice, so cool. Clean, angular, techy, without too much fuss.
Yeah. It's a very sleek looking, futuristic,
Yeah.
but retro car.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and
I really liked it.
And I like the name as well. The name's derived from what? It's from the fact that the pony car was 45 years old this year. You know?
Yeah, okay, that is fine. So
and
then
they
you could
also
call the next issue of Evo 6 because 6 years of Evo. So that is all debatable.
Yeah.
But car looks good.
Yeah, and again, that's an all-electric car.
All electric car, obviously.
And they debuted some new features. I mean, we haven't seen in an electric car yet, but the side sill on the car has a battery meter. So before you get into the car, you know how much range it has. You know.
Yeah, but now with all the apps and like what
true as
Hyundai
well.
also has with the venue and all
Correct,
that, you can from home you can see how much fuel is there in the car.
That's
So
true.
I don't know why you go next to the car and okay, now let's see what the range is. There was a Chinese car. So there was, I'm digressing, but there were a bunch of Chinese manufacturers. There was something called Wei.
Okay.
WEI, and they have a slogan, the Chinese way or something like that. Huh? And on the grill, it's got this display with open door, closed door, radar. I think, why would you have that nonsense on the grill of the car, on the nose of the car? Nobody's like looking at the nose of the car unless you're stopped at traffic lights.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
But I guess you can communicate to pedestrians, you know, whether they should cross, not
yeah,
cross.
which pedestrian crosses like this looking at you? Now they're looking where they want to go, right? They're not looking at the car that's going to hit them.
Fair enough.
So I don't know. That was a little weird. And then speaking of weird, there was Honky.
What's that?
So Honky is the premium range from Hawal, which is a big Chinese manufacturer.
Okay.
They got Giles Taylor. Giles Taylor is the guy, the design director at Rolls-Royce who designed the Cullinan. Now at the Honky stand, nothing was written in English.
Okay.
Everything was in Chinese. So a lot of these guys, and I was later on talking to some guys I know, and they was like, you saw that Chinese car with that red thing on top? And I'm like, yeah, Honky. And say, oh, how do you know it was Honky? The only reason I knew was because I took a picture on the back of the car, and on the back it was written in English. But otherwise, everything else was in Chinese.
You gotta go around with your iPhone and Google Translate.
Yeah, true. And you look at it, and it just looks like a Chinese Cullinan.
Right.
And later on, when I tweeted about it, then Pratap Bose, the head of design at Tata Motors, he tweeted back saying that this has been done by Giles Taylor. After Rolls-Royce, he went to China and he's designed this. And it does look like a Chinese Cullinan. It definitely gives me the impression of being a Cullinan. Obviously with more jing-jang, more bling. And that red strip on the bonnet. Sort of like what the ambassadors used to have, that chrome thing on the bonnet.
Yeah.
But this is red. And it goes with that whole red flag theme because that company used to make something called the red flag. So, Chinese design.
But back to Hyundai, I wanted to talk about something a little more relevant to us here. Hyundai actually showcased the i10 NLine, which is a sporty i10.
Yeah. So that i10 is the Neos. Now in India we've had the i10, the Grand i10, the Grand i10 Neos. In Europe, i10 got replaced by an i10, got replaced by an i10,
Correct.
which is a sensible way to do it. I think Hyundai should do it in India. Grand i10 Neos is a bit much, and having both the i10 side by side in the showroom is confusing as hell, especially in this day and age when consumers are so confused with so many cars around. But i10 N-Line, I think it's a nice move. In the front, it's distinguished by 3 LEDs
Correct.
at the edges of the grille.
Yeah.
In India, we've got that sleek edge, that pattern at the
They're
edge.
almost like fangs.
Yeah, and in Europe, the i10 has like bullets for the DRLs.
Like cut pomegranates almost.
Yeah, actually, it does look like cut pomegranates. Yeah. So this was the i10 N-Line with a cool styling kit on it. Looks good. Will it come to India? I don't think it'll come to India. In India, what they should do, and they should definitely bring the N-Line, and they should start it off with the next i20. I'm sure the next i20 is going to be showcased at the Auto Expo. Obviously, it'll be cooler looking because all new Hyundais do look really cool.
Yeah.
So it will be cooler looking, a cool N-Line with the i20. But really nice.
But what I actually found interesting about this i10 is that there was a new 3-cylinder. There was a 1-liter turbo petrol engine in it. You know?
Yeah,
and
we also have the 1-liter turbo petrol engine in it.
It's the same
in the
engine.
venue.
It's the same engine.
Yeah, it's more or less the same engine. Yeah, but it's fine. But it's fine. I was at the show. You weren't at the show. No, you were only looking and supposed to be doing research and supposed to be knowing more about what was happening. But it's fine. It's fine. No problem. No problem. So anyway, i10 NLine with the turbo petrol engine. I think that will come to the i10 in India. Okay. Now, obviously, you guys need to go and buy some i10 so that some stocks start moving. And in fact, everybody needs to go out and buy cars because what is happening with the automotive industry is really terrifying. The sales drop is frightening. The first day at the show that we were there, that's when the last month's numbers came in, and we're all looking at our phone and we're like, oh shit, now what? 45% down. What's going to happen? So it is affecting everybody. And I think statements that we're going to decide about the GST cut at the next GST council meeting, it's bizarre because now who's going to buy? And this is the festive season. 2 days ago was Onam. That's the time when everybody in Kerala buys cars. But you would postpone, right? If prices are going to drop by 10%, you'd be a fool to buy it now. And I understand the customer psyche. We just need to have a clear thing that GST cut is coming, or clearly GST cut is not coming no matter what. If the sales drop by 200% also, GST cut is not coming. And then that's over. Nobody's going to go back and forth with that. But rant over. Let's go back to Frankfurt and more electric cars.
Before we go to more electric cars, I want to talk about the Land Rover Defender.
Oh, let's go old school, yeah.
I think that was probably the coolest car from the show for me.
For sure. I loved it. It was an old school dinosaur in the mix of all these electric cars. But so cool, right? The design is just simple.
Yeah. And there's so many cues, which hark back to the old Defender, like the squares and the circles in the headlamp, or the square mirrors, and these little cues, if you're in the know, they're damn cool.
They've really worked on this. And Ralph Speth now. He said that 4 years ago, they had a really hard time when they pulled the plug on the Defender. It was a product that was very close to them. And now 4 years later, they're back with the Defender, and it'll be a whole range. So like they have the Discovery range. This is going to be a full range. It's not going to be just one model. To start with, they have the 90 and the 110, which harks back to the old 90-inch wheelbase and 110-inch wheelbase. Obviously, it's not the same wheelbase now, but it's just cool nomenclature. So the 90 is the 3-door. The 110 is the 5-door. It's obviously longer. The 110 has decent enough space at the back, but you really have to haul yourself in because it is high. It is tall. And the spec that I really love is the commercial version.
Okay.
So in Europe, the 90 starts at around 40,000 pounds.
Which is expensive.
40 lakh rupees, right? The 5-door, the 110 is almost 80,000 pounds. 90 lakhs for a Defender. Okay. No matter how much they've worked on it, aluminum monocoque, all of that, it's still going to be like a hardcore vehicle, right? It's not a luxury Range Rover or anything like that. And then this commercial version, under 20,000 pounds, which is cool. Flat panels, steel wheels. I've never been excited by steel wheels, but we're all talking about steelies. Now, imagine we are getting excited about steel wheels. But I think it looks cool, those white steel wheels. They have that Red Cross edition. No, plain white, no frills, no nothing, white steel wheels. They had a commercial version with some 4x4 guy's name on the side of it. Again, so cool, basic.
But they have upped the ante in terms of connectivity, technology.
Sure, you have to do it.
Air suspension now. You've got the
engine
system.
The engine's got a supercharger.
Correct. You've got a mild hybrid.
Yeah. So it's got everything. Yeah, for sure.
Does that affect its capability in, say, the Sahara?
No, I don't think so. Because Land Rover cannot not make a Defender that cannot cross the Sahara. I hope I've said that right. But a Defender has to cross the Sahara. Right? So I'm sure they have done all of that. Right? Inside also, it's very plasticky.
Okay.
So when you go touch and feel it, it's all rough and...
It's hardy stuff.
It's rough and hard. Okay. So it doesn't feel... we talk about soft touch plastics and all of that, right? It's got nothing. No soft touch plastic. At the back of the front seats, there's a USB slot and there's a flap on it. And all that feels actually quite cheap. It doesn't feel well finished. So I don't think it should be priced too expensive. Colleagues in the know say that Land Rover's cost structure is very high. And obviously with Brexit, it's going to be a nightmare for them. So I guess that has also been factored into the pricing. But I think a bare bones Defender. Now you need to ask me, is it coming to India?
Is it coming to India?
It's coming to India.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
End of next year or early 2021.
Did you prefer the 90 or the 110?
See, okay, I don't have like 25 kids to put in the car, but I would still think like a 5-door would make more sense in our environment. If I were to buy it, I'd buy the 3-door, and I would buy the basic, the bare bones diesel manual gearbox. Now, because you're not going to drive it every day and all of that. Now, I'm not really a masochist that like those Thar guys, they drive their souped up, pimped up, mud tired cars to work every day. I'm not that mad, right? I'd rather take my Ntorq and come to work. It's more sensible. But for what it is, right? I don't want a luxurious Defender. I want a bare bones hardcore Defender that I can really thrash around and not be worried about.
A lot of people didn't like the design. They thought it was too out there. They feel like Land Rover should have done what Mercedes did with the G-Wagon.
See, design is very personal. Styling is very personal. Like your mom will love your face, right? But I don't know about all your other girlfriends, right? So it's a very personal thing. You might love it, you might hate it, you might not have much opinion on it, but I think it does the job. And for the most part, everybody really loved it. When I put up some stuff on social media also, all the comments were very positive. And in fact, I did a short video, what you kids call boomerang. The 5-door and the 5-door with all the frills and everything. I had a fully tarted up Defender and the bare bones Defender. And I asked that what would you opt for? And everybody was like the Steelies.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The bare bones. Yeah. I don't think Land Rover in India will bring that bare basic commercial version because here the brand is premium, right? That would go against the brand ethos.
Yeah, they were missing out, no?
Yeah, that's true.
Missing out.
Yeah.
Please bring it, Land Rover, please.
Please.
And what did Jaguar have?
Nothing.
Why?
So they started off talking about Jaguar and they had a sketch of the bum of the XJ, which apparently is going to be full electric when it comes. But Jaguar stand was just the same. All the action was Defender.
Okay. And if you talk about fully electric sedans, tell me about the EQS. I think that was quite cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. So where you look at BMW, where they're trying to make this statement and trying too hard, Mercedes, smooth, no fuss, and a lot of interesting lighting. So that grille lights up at the back, the tail lamps. It's basically stars cut into the bodywork. So light peeps in through the bodywork, through stars. Really cool, really impressive and expensive. It looks like a bloody S-Class. No, it looks like money.
Looks like like a wild S-Class.
Yeah, it looks like money. It's like, get the fuck out of my way.
And if you look at that design, like even the current S-Class, it's a little more rounded off than say a 7 Series,
Of course. And see, the S-Class is conservative. S-Class is old money. But now even old money wants to make a statement, right?
But then how, that whole round is so bulbous and round and...
Yeah, but so, we were talking about the S-Class sales vis-a-vis all its rivals. And apparently the S-Class sells more than everybody else combined in that segment.
Wow.
So it's that popular. So it's a very difficult car to get right. And you cannot veer too much away from that formula because so many S-Classes being sold. You cannot piss off your customers. The EQS, I don't think will piss off anybody. I think everybody will love it.
So that's the vision for a fully electric S-Class.
Yeah. And again, I think it'll come. The electrics are coming. What with the WLTP and all the emission norms and all the fuel economy norms and all that. Manufacturers have to sell electrics. Even though consumers don't really want electrics, manufacturers desperately want people to buy electrics because they have to meet all the regulation. Regulation is driving electric car sales or will drive electric car sales in Europe.
Yeah. So Mercedes-Benz was quite cool.
What else was so let's move back to the Volkswagen Group stand.
Audi had 2 new cars, I think. There was the RS6 and the RS7, which were the headlines.
Yeah. So again, big engines, lot of noise, a lot of masala in the styling.
Mild hybrids this time.
Mild hybrids, okay. Headline figures for us are the power, more power. So those will be fast, and I personally love the RS6.
Yeah, I think
the fast estates are such a cool thing. I hate the fact that it doesn't sell in India, that estates don't sell in India. These estates look so cool today. Why don't you all buy estates? Buy estates. But anyway,
estates also had some AI-enabled cars.
Yeah, so and then they had a whole bunch of concepts. First time I'm seeing so many concepts on an Audi stand. So they had that AI Con, then they had the AI Race, and then the AI All-Road, Off-Road, 4x4, All-Track, whatever. It looked like a moon rover, something that would drop on the Mars and drive around. Looks cool, looks different, but okay, it's just concepts for the future. It's not it doesn't really have any production significance. In fact, all of Volkswagen Group's energy is going into their current electric cars, which is the ID3. The Seat stall, they also had some electric cars based on the same,
variation of the-
based on the same architecture as the ID3.
Yeah, and what about the Porsche
Yeah,
Taycan?
the Taycan. So we saw that the previous evening during the Volkswagen Group night. I love it.
I mean, see, look, I've seen it in photos, but cars sometimes just don't look the same in photos. as they
No,
look
but in the
person.
metal, it looks great.
Really?
It really looks great. It looks like a 911 and a Panamera.
Okay.
No, had a mating session.
Yeah.
And it's got the best of the 911, the best of the Panamera. It's not as bulbous as the Panamera, obviously not as small as the 911, but it looks cool,
Does that
man.
front end work?
It works. Visually, it works. The rear end works even better than the front with that really slim, full length tail lamps, which unfortunately everybody's stuffing onto the cars.
Yeah.
So that novelty of factor is now though gone with it, but still it looks really cool. I think the rear works better than the front. The interiors are very nice.
Yeah. And it's all digital now. There's no buttons.
Clean, simple, sexy, high tech. If you wanted to move enthusiasts like us towards electrics, I think the Taycan is the right direction.
What's your take on the turbo name?
I think that's stupid. Forgive me, I love Porsche, but I think this calling it turbo and turbo S is really silly. You're just mucking things up and then overboost. What is overboost, Ken? No, why are you confusing things? You have this cool, futuristic, really sexy car. Why do all this harking back to turbo S and all of that? As it is, all the Porsches are turbos, but some are turbos and some are not turbos.
They should just call it the E and the E plus or the plus plus.
Or something sexy, like what Elon Musk does, ludicrous mode. No, that's the way to do it, man. That's why I like him.
But I don't think the Germans can be that.
Germans are moving away from that. This time at the show, nobody was wearing ties.
Really?
Yeah, when I went to work at Porsche, the thing that I hated the most was I had to wear that fucking tie every single day. Even on Fridays, their entire Volkswagen Group Friday was casual dressing, and we were wearing ties at Porsche.
That's why he comes to office in t-shirts.
Yeah, go to work in a suit. Damn it. That's the first. That second day, I was like, shit, man, I can't do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, no, every day I was, biting my pen and thinking, oh, no, what do I do with my life? But none of the Germans were wearing suits. They were all open shirts, some were wearing jeans. So Germans are becoming more relaxed. And it's looking, you see the graphics on the screens, you see the stand design. Porsche stands used to be very conservative. Right. I remember when I was at Porsche, when we did the Autocar Performance Show, we had to get the entire corporate identity from Europe. And it had to completely match that corporate identity, which was just straight and very simple, very plain, very boring. Now it's so cool.
Yeah.
The graphics that they had on their screens, really sexy stuff. So I really, of course, the best part about Porsche was the stuff that was on the first floor, the regular 911s and the GT4 and the new Spider. Man, those were cool. No stereo also, just holes there. Lightweight.
You can delete the stereos in those cars.
Yeah, that's so cool. Only thing the prices are little.
But then they are the best cars.
Yeah, but then when you're talking about prices,
what about the Lamborghini?
Yeah.
Lamborghini showcased their first hybrid, which is based on the Aventador platform and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's called a Xi'an,
God knows what. But what I liked is the surname.
What's the
FKP37. Ferdinand K. Piech,
Okay.
1937, the year that he was born.
Right.
Remembrance to, I think, one of the greatest automotive engineers ever, maybe after his grandfather.
Yeah.
The greatest automotive engineer and a guy who really transformed the Volkswagen Group. I never had the opportunity to meet him personally, but I've been to a lot of VW Group nights and group events where he was always there, right at the front, almost like a god.
Yeah.
Sitting over there, looking, glaring. I believe he was a terrible manager. He would terrify the wits out of people. But look at what he achieved.
The
Audi Quattro, the 917 Porsche, the Veyron. He made the Phaeton. Obviously, that was just his project. He made that Dresden glass factory to make the Phaeton. He made the Volkswagen Group what it is. He did this whole platform sharing thing, which is now prevalent across manufacturers all over the world. He invented that. Or maybe he's the one who pushed it, right? Integrating all of the brands in the group, making Audi what it is today. Even at Audi, at the press conference, they had a remembrance to Piech, which was, I think, very nice, very cool. One of the greatest engineers ever.
We've seen,
what he has done for us. right? He made the Veyron and then he made that 100 kmpl Volkswagen. And he was equally passionate about both.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with these German engineers. No, motorsport is so ingrained in their blood. Even though they're making the Beetle, at the same time, his grandfather, while making the Beetle, was thinking of a race version of the Beetle. It's just motorsport, and that's what makes great cars, great production cars. And with Lamborghini also, right? Even though they don't have too much of a motorsport heritage, but look at that Sian. That insane styling, insane. It's so low that you practically have to lie down on the floor to get that whole visual impact of those LEDs that you can't call it a 3-pointed star, right? But it is sort of like a 3-pointed star. But so sexy, so in your face, limited to just 63 units, all apparently sold out.
And it's got a new sort of hybrid technology, something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. So it uses supercapacitors to boost it to 800 horsepower. So imagine that V12 engine.
And hopefully this will mean that we can see the V12 and the V10 again, because if they can integrate hybrid technology.
So I think even though everybody's talking about electrics, V12s, those high performance engines will still be there.
As hybrids.
Maybe as hybrids, maybe as pure NA engines, but I think as hybrids, the era of pure natural aspiration V12 probably is over. But I think these engines will still be around and it still enthuse us enthusiasts.
What about Honda? Honda showcased the E.
Such a cute car. Honda really, take it from me as a lifelong VTEC fan. When I started off, when I was Atish, once upon a time, I loved Hondas. Honda VTEC, a city VTEC was like the shiz. If you had a VTEC, you were made in life. If your dad had a VTEC, your life was made. It was such a cool car. The engines, those insanely revvy engines, light cars, great fun to drive, really aspirational. Today, Honda in India does not sell an aspirational car. I'm not calling Honda every day and say like, please send me this car. I'm not doing that and I need to be doing that. And the Honda E is something that can do that. Now, I'm not telling Honda to bring that electric car because I don't think India is still ready for it. But such a cute car.
The retro styling is
super.
It's lovely.
And the thing is, I want to make a point here that the ID3, it uses these big wheels to fill up the arches and to give it that kind of sporty stance. And they kept talking about Volkswagen, the GTI heritage, and how the ID3 with rear wheel drive will still connect with that GT3 heritage. The GTI heritage, the performance cars. Small little wheels on the Honda E. Small car, small cute car. You can just about fit 4 people in it. It's not uncomfortable, but you can just fit in it.
That's what the Japanese do. They make small cars.
But it's so loving. And the dash, it's screens all through. So the entire thing is screens and even screens for the rear view mirrors. So it's just like one big screen split into parts. And it's so nice, so cute. Everybody loved it. Everybody in the show, they just were like, did you see the Honda E? Did you see the Honda E? Honda, come on, man, do something like that.
And speaking of electric cars, the Chinese were there in numbers.
We spoke about Wei, which is supposed to be this premium SUV brand, honky red flag. There was Borgward. And then in the midst of all of that, there was Bosch with this massive stand with all their different components. Obviously, Bosch is one of the biggest component manufacturers in the world, if not the biggest. And then they had, this was pointed out to me by Michael Perschke, who's the boss of Automobili Pininfarina. And he says, our next car is going to be based on that. And that was a full skateboard. So everything, the suspension, the motors, the batteries, everything, the whole integrated platform. And on top, manufacturers can do what they're good at.
But then, wouldn't that make everything just too homogeneous, too similar across everyone?
Electric cars are going to be very similar. Okay, so you might have electric cars with motors on the front and rear axle. So you'll have all-wheel drive. You might have motors only on the front, or you might have motor only at the back. So that will have a slight difference in the way it performs. But I think electric cars, in terms of the driving, it's not going to be so different like how the cars today are, because every engine has its own distinct characteristics.
Exactly.
With an electric car, an electric motor cannot have really a distinct characteristic unless you integrate flaws in it.
So then how do you create those separate identities for everybody?
So I think it's just styling. Cool styling, cool features, cool gizmos. It's going to be that. More power, because electric cars you can really have nutty
Yeah.
power.
But then how much, where do you draw that line as what is too much, how much can you actually use on the
Yeah,
road?
so when your kidneys get flung back, yeah, and when you lose your eyeballs, then you say, okay, now I think it's a bit too much. No, that Lotus Evia,
Yeah.
okay, no, somebody's organs have got physically rearranged. We keep talking about getting rearranged. Somebody's organs physically rearranged, so maybe you need those suits that the Air Force pilots wear.
Yeah.
So maybe that. But I don't know, in terms of electric cars, how different can electric cars be?
And especially
It's
if
a
somebody
question.
like Bosch comes in and just standardizes it across manufacturers.
Yeah, so
because-
there are two ways of looking at it, right? You'll have a well-engineered, reliable platform, which somebody like Pininfarina can design a cool, sexy body on it. Somebody else can design a mass market body on it. You can do car, sports car, van, pickup, you name it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Right? Your investment in building a car manufacturer, maybe tomorrow if you hit the lottery, or if your dad is feeling generous, now you can start Mishra Automotive and you can build cars in Goa,
Buy
electric
from Bosch,
cars.
huh?
Yeah, buy the platform from Bosch and sell electric cars out of Goa, made in Goa.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting times ahead.
Interesting times.
the
I
show-
think the show was all electric.
Yeah.
The show was more manageable. It was more sensible. The automotive industry is not going through the best of times, especially here in India. It's going through a really rough patch. Let's hope that gets sorted out. Will we be driving electric cars very soon? I have my doubts.
Why?
Because in India, we still have to fit out the infrastructure. I think we'll be riding electric bikes before we are driving electric cars in big numbers, because with an electric bike, it is easier to do all of that. Easier to charge. If you have swappable batteries, all of that is far simpler than with a car. A lot of cities, you don't even really have your own parking lot. So where are you going to charge it?
I think cars will come in, especially with respect to urban areas. Now you're seeing these electric buses all around Pune. I think if you're confining a car to an urban area, it's perfectly manageable. As
Yeah,
an
just
electric.
one question on that. A Wagoner at 6-7 lakh rupees or an electric Wagoner at 12 lakh
Yeah, I
rupees?
mean, until you get the cost down, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No-
So until you have serious subsidies by the government, why would consumers pay so much?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to save the environment and all of that. But today, electricity in India, it's not carbon neutral.
Yeah.
Majority is from coal-fired plants. Coal. And India's got the stinkiest coal.
Yeah.
The worst kind of coal. So you're creating pollution. You're just taking out the pollution from one end and you're putting it into some other end. But the country as a whole, you're still affecting that. So we need to start step by step. We need to properly incentivize hybrids. Get better fuel economy, get better emissions, and then move on, and not make these haphazard random statements like, no, we're going to ban electric cars. So as it is, there's this whole thing about BS4, BS6. Then you make all this noise about BS4 will be sold, will not be sold, all of that. Then you talk about electrics. Then it's just so much of confusion. Life as it is, you got enough of headaches. Why do you need this additional thing on your head?
And I think until I saw Mercedes-Benz say in their press conference that they don't want to have a production chain anymore, but a production cycle. And until we can figure out a way to be entirely sustainable, the whole, right from the building of the cars to the running of them is sustainable. I mean,
We
you're
don't
not really
recycle.
being sustainable.
We don't recycle in India.
Yeah.
Now, in Europe, they recycle everything. Today, if your phone's gone, you just throw it away. Nobody recycles. So we need to start there. We need to do vermiculture. That's my wife keeps telling me that we need to do vermiculture. So we need to start there. We need to be environmentally conscious. It's not just driving an electric car. It's your whole attitude, your whole way of thinking, cutting down on plastics. No, not buying. So now when we go out on shoots, we all carry our own glass bottles. So trying to make a difference. Now I got a garden on my terrace, which my wife takes care of me to cut down on my carbon emissions as I crisscross around the globe. So you got to start somewhere, and slowly, steadily, but with a plan, and that is what is going to work.
Yep. So that's it for this episode of the Thrill of Driving podcast. Do let us know what your favorite cars from the show are in the comments. If you've got any feedback for us, do let us know about that as well. See you next week.
And would you like a Defender on steel wheels? Let us know in the comments below.